Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening and welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and once again, we're getting together on Tuesday night to really talk about my favorite topic, small business. Thanks for joining us each week. We always appreciate your comments, your feedback, your questions. So we welcome you to participate again tonight. As everybody knows, we're knocking up against Thanksgiving. So thanks for taking time during the holiday season. And of course, we wish you a happy holidays for Thanksgiving and through the rest of the year. So tonight, I'm really excited. I have someone truly extraordinary who's done some great things with his business. And I'm going to do a little different format tonight. You may know about my most recent book, The Masterpreneur Playbook, but it's really about the 5 steps that you have to take as an organization to go from startup to scaling your business. In addition, as a business owner, you have to evolve through 5 different stages to be able to effectively manage your organization through those stages. So here's a quick look at the path: working on the concept, working in your business, working on your business, working on the future of your business, and working on scaling your business. And tonight's guest has done all of these, and he's continuing to work on scaling his business. He's also evolved through many of the different stages that you need to do as an entrepreneur, employee supervisor, manager, executive, CEO. And we're going to talk about sort of his experience through the transition of being able to do that successfully. So once again, tonight, my guest is Wallace Santos. He's the CEO of MAINGEAR. And tonight's topic is the making of a masterpreneur. We're just going to talk about his masterpreneur journey. So let me invite Wallace on now. Hey, Wallace, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing excellent, Andrew. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for joining me. And I'm really excited about just chatting with you today. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. And, we've known each other for several years, and I've had a chance to see you and your organization develop, which has been great. So I'm just excited to be able to share a little bit about that. But, I can't introduce you as well as you can. So just take a minute, talk a little bit about who you are, your company. You don't have to go through your journey too much because we're going to talk through it, but it'd be good for people to sort of know who you are, where you are, a little bit about what you've done, and then we'll dig into it a little bit more. Sound good?
Sounds great. Well, before I introduce myself, I just want to make a quick correction. You haven't had a chance to just see us develop, right? You've been instrumental in our development, so I just want to thank you for the years of coaching and guidance that you've provided for us. But moving on, my name is Wallace. I'm the CEO and founder for MAINGEAR Computers. We manufacture high performance gaming computers um, right here in New Jersey. Essentially, I've been in business for about uh, 20 years now, which is crazy to think about it. But today we're highly respected, not just nationally but globally as as a boutique premier system builder or a gaming system builder. What does that mean? Essentially, we're building really fast gaming computers that they're not just for gaming; they're pretty much for everything, right? Because a good gaming computer is just a really fast computer, right? But think of us as like like the F1 of computers, right? Like we're strategic partners with Intel, AMD, NVIDIA. We're launch partners with these guys. I'm personally part of the board of advisory for Intel. So like just because and all that came through our work, right? Just really hardcore enthusiasts, and we like to think that we do a good job building PCs.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So, um, definitely, you said you've been in business for 20 years, which is amazing. Most businesses don't even make it 5 years. So that itself is pretty, pretty impressive. But also, you started your business out of high school, correct? Out of high school, maybe in high school.
Yeah, it wasn't in high school. Essentially, I graduated a little early. I think I was 17 or 16 when I graduated. I don't really recall. But I went to school for networking systems professional. It was a school called Satone Institute. I think they got acquired by Lincoln Tech. Essentially for networking, right? Setting up small networks and becoming an NSP. That was my goal. Um, I quickly realized that that wasn't for me. Right after school, I established a corporation to essentially set up and do consulting for small businesses and set up their networks. And we were originally established as Easy Tech Corporation. Um, but through that process, I'm gonna make it short because that story alone is like an hour plus. But through that process, I just kept on getting requests to build gaming PCs for my friends and family. Um, Long story short, we ended up at the time I it was just me and two other partners. We ended up establishing a brand. We needed to come up with a brand name. We needed to come up with the website, and we're just like, you know what, we can build and sell computers online, right? I'm already doing it for friends and family anyway. But you know, all of this was done without a business plan, right? All of this was done just out of pure passion. And I actually got to learn and go through that process along the way. Um, Building a PC at home as a hobby is not the same as running a business that sells PCs online. Just want to
Definitely.
make that very clear. There's a lot that goes into managing a business, and delivering a product and delivering an experience to the people that are essentially giving you their hard-earned money, right? Um, and we learned the hard way, right? My first PCs that I built was they were very um they're very elaborate, they're very they're liquid cooled, they're very cutting edge, right? But then we would ship them, they would arrive exploded, right? Like in people's homes, right? Like fed, they weren't designed to be shipped, right? So yeah, I mean, it was a cool journey. Now looking back at it, just the experience was cool. The excitement, especially when you start a business, you're always very excited. Like I was young, and I would sleep in the office, right? I would literally sleep in the office, go home, shower, and come back, and just tinker and experiment. So fun times. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So, that's really like stage one, the entrepreneur. Your goal is to really develop the concept of your business. Pretty much anybody who's in business, you know, usually the first thing that you start out doing isn't the thing that catches on and ends up being what you end up doing long term. So, you had a chance to, you know, really evolve to find your market. A big piece of being an entrepreneur is problem solving, figuring out the problem that people need solved. And, you were able to sort of zero in on it as a gaming computer. So, once you figure out that, what the product is, what you're going to develop, and then you start making some sales, then you're really going to, you generally start out as an employee within your business. In the early days, was it just you? How did you start out? And, talk a little bit about how you got to where you hired your first employee.
Yeah, so I started the business with my friend that from high school, right? Essentially, um, like in the beginning, like I was literally knocking on doors, like every idea that you have, basically, especially when you're young and naive and you think that you know everything. Um, every idea that I would come up with, I would think that that would catapult us to the next level. That was the truth, right? I'm like, we're gonna do this, and that's gonna take us there. And the truth is that that never happens. It's very rare, right? Um, now today is a different story. I mean, I started in 2002, I believe. There's a wealth of information online. There's a lot of learning that you can do and preparation that you can do before you actually start a business today. But back in the day, right, like you didn't have information wasn't as prevalent. It wasn't as easy to just go online and do a search and how to run a computer business or how to start a business, right? It wasn't You didn't have that wealth of information. But essentially, you're right. The concept, the taking that plunge of I'm going to start a business and this is what I'm going to do. You establish what you want to do. Sure, done. Um, you create the product. You want to deliver a product. Is it consulting? Is it a physical product? Is it a digital product? Whatever it is, done. Right. But then there's all the other parts of that puzzle, right? Like you become the employee, right? For a long time, I built every computer that shipped out of MAINGEAR, right? Like I was literally wiring. I was the expert, right? I'm the guy that's building it. I'm the guy that's selling the computer. So whenever somebody would call our 800 number, that was me picking up. And I'm the guy that was coming up with the marketing plan, right? So to speak, plan at the time. How do I sell computers? Essentially that was my marketing, right? My idea was um, to score as many at the time, magazine reviews as possible. That would help basically expose the brand and hopefully it would translate into sales. So essentially, yeah, like it was me and my buddy. We were the first employees of the company, and I was taking the garbage out. Like I was doing everything, right? Like, there's so many things, and if I was to write on my resume, it would be like people wouldn't believe it. Like this guy does everything. Like, but if you start a business without funding, without structure, or without like a proper plan, yeah, you're gonna have to learn. You're gonna have to go through the every single process, every single stage um, of an employee in the business as possible.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely, a lot of learning, and takes you know it takes a while, and it's especially hard to really grow your business while you're working in it.
Yeah, and some of the learnings is good, right, Andrew? Like, there's, I look at today, and like when I go to these conferences and I'm sitting with other CEOs, um, I personally find that I'm at an advantage when I'm talking about my topic or my business because I know the product, I know the ins and out of every single aspect of my business and my products. I live it and I breathe it right till today. Um, you talk to a lot of CEOs that are just CEOs or that were hired as CEOs. They're disconnected, right? They're they're their job is just strategy, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's probably good for that position. That's why it's their CEO. But being a small business owner, an entrepreneur, right? Like I think it's a cool advantage, right? Like I can sit here and go to toe with someone and talk about my products like without reading from a script or anything like that. So I find that as an advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, understanding your business inside and out, taking it from where you started to where it is. Um, you know, the first step, coming up with the concept, working within your business. Um, as you were growing, there were definitely different growing pains, but what would you say, um, you know, during the first 5 years, was your biggest success? And then also, what was your biggest challenge?
I would say that, you know, there's a saying like if you want it done correctly, if you want it done right, do it yourself. Like for me, that was the easy part. Like if I wanted to build a really beautiful, product, or in my case, a really beautiful gaming PC, I would do it myself. I would ship it myself. I would support it myself. And to me, that was easy. That was native to me, right? The challenge was transferring that skill, that know-how to people that are joining your organization. That's so hard. Um, it's so hard to make people think and act and behave like you because as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you expect people to do that. And the truth is that nobody ever will, right? Um, because nobody's you, or else they would be running their own businesses. So like we have this like twisted mindset of like, I'm gonna hire this guy, I'm gonna pay this guy to work or this person to work for me. And I expect them to give me elite or to think like me and deliver like me. Um, and I guarantee you'll be heartbroken every single time, right? Because you shouldn't expect someone to be you and for you. Like it doesn't add up. But in my mind, that's what I expected. And so you have to understand and create processes um to basically train people on how to handle certain situations and 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 basically set people on the right path, right? So they can become successful within your organization. And I'll be the first one to say, like, I was horrible at that. I was also young, and I didn't have the mindset that I have today, right? So so to me, that the challenge was having, essentially replicating myself through my employees. That was the biggest challenge, right? Just how do I continue to deliver an excellent or superior product like I've been doing for 5+ years? How do I make sure that the guy joining or the person joining is able to replicate that? That to me was the biggest challenge initially. And there's a million of other challenges that don't get me wrong. Like that's the comes to mind. There's like a million and one other challenges. Don't It's not, but to me, that was the biggest issue. It's like, how do I get people to make sure that we're doing the same? And just to be, very frank too, and I'm very proud that today, organization we've scaled and, working with, consultants like you and working with NJMEP, right? We're able to create consistency and we're able to create a process. And that's why like when our products are reviewed, there's videos of us being reviewed by like secret shoppers like Linus Tech Tips, and just go on YouTube and type MAINGEAR and you'll see we tend to get reviewed very good, right? Because our product is consistent, our cabling, our craftsmanship is consistent across the board. So this stuff is a big is it it's I'm something that I'm really proud of today. Is just that our products are great. Like it's just it's hard. Like once you get to a certain level, it's hard to keep that consistency, and we're able to crack that code.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. You've got some great products. I probably should have showed this before, but I'm going to share my screen just so you can see a little bit about what his products are and what they make, because they make some really great stuff. So, Wallace, maybe you could talk a little bit about your product. Well, first off, who is this and why is he important?
Yeah. So that's Shroud. He's a really famous essentially he's like the Michael Jordan of esports, right? And in our space, if you don't know who he is, he's really famous in our in our industry. He's one of the top Twitch streamers or game streamers in the world today. Draws a huge audience. Um, Huge nerd. I'm talking about like he loves what he does. You know, perfect fit for us, right? Essentially, he's now a stakeholder at MAINGEAR, and our first product together was the MG1, which is right below there. It's been the MG1 has been an award-winning, like it's basically turning the industry on its feet because it's a really high-end product at an affordable price, right? So there's some really cool, unique features to it, like the front panel there can be removed, and you can customize it. But essentially, back to Shroud, he's like the Michael Jordan of esports, and think of us as like the Nike, right? So like that's kind of what you see there. Um, and we're gonna continue to develop really cool products together, and he'll continue to promote MAINGEAR and through his channels, and this is just the beginning.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, so you've been a innovator of a lot of different types of systems, um, and talk a little bit about, I know you do water cooled systems, and you sort of introduced some new things to the industry. Um, Talk a little bit about how the industry has evolved and how, what you've been doing has contributed to that.
Yeah, I mean, we've always punched above our weight, just through innovation. That's just the truth, and the innovation comes because I was always a hobbyist. I'm just an enthusiast, right? And what that means is like when we started the business, we are actually one of the first companies in the country to ship a liquid cooled computer. Now, we didn't invent a liquid cooled computer. We commercialized it. And liquid cooled computers, liquid in computers or water in computers just didn't make any sense, right? Back then. Um Today, like tier one guys like HP and Dell are shipping them by default, right? But you know, a liquid cooled PC at the time was something you would do in your basement. It's a hobby. And I'm like, you know what? We'll do it. We'll figure it out. Like I said, it was a long journey, but we did it, right? We're also one of the first to ship colored computers, like a computer. Essentially, our computers, our PCs, were built, and my friend from JPS Collision, it was literally a body shop next door to where we started. Right, I would bring my computers to him, and he, before they were built, of course, and he would paint these PCs with automotive finishes. So he would paint the shells for us, and I would, bring them back to my office, and I would build the computers, and I would ship them out. So we're one of the first to offer that, right? Like it's essentially selling a computer that's liquid cooled with an automotive finish. So you get that beautiful glossy finish, just like your car. Um, we were one of the first to introduce, I think this was in '09. We introduced a computer called a Shift. It was one of the first computers with vertical heat dissipations. Essentially, a computer is essentially comprised of a bunch of components right inside of a box. You have to have an intake and an exhaust. Right? So you have fans that are intaking fresh air. It's cooling your chips, right? I'm keeping this simple so for your audience, but it's cooling your processor and your GPU, and then that's creating heat inside that box, and it has to exhaust the heat out the back of the box, right? And the cooler you keep your PC, the more efficient it's gonna run. Um, at the time, I'm like, all right, we've liquid cooled computers. The industry has followed. We've shipped beautiful PCs that are painted. The industry has followed. What can we do next? So we ended up coming up with the vertical PC, the vertical heat dissipation. Heat rises or radiates. That's where the idea came from. It was it was a it was a clever method. That product, the Shift, catapulted our business to the next level in terms of sales. Um, but sometimes sales, right? You get what you wish for, but if you're not prepared, you can you can stumble, right? And that's kind of what happened with us. We weren't prepared for the success that that product would bring us. I thought I was at the time in '09, but I really wasn't, right? Because I couldn't sustain it. Um, That's where we started to just really understand, some of the challenges of the business, right? Like infrastructure challenges, hiring, logistics, moving. How do we get a bigger building? We got a bigger building. Now, guess what? That big building only has one bathroom. We have 20 employees. How do you know? There's like so much stuff that you have to think about and plan um in that process, and it was fun. Like looking back, it was fun. It was also very stressful, right? So but back to innovation, right? So like after the shift, we introduced we were the first company to commercialize liquid cooling distribution systems. Essentially, we revolutionized liquid cooling. The product was the F-131, and in that process, I also filed for a few patents. Today, at CES 2024 in January, like in 2 months, there's going to be a few announcements with basically really big motherboard manufacturers that are announcing our patent for the wireless motherboard patent, which you guys will see. So yeah, I mean, like I said, we're always innovating. We're always punching above our weight. We're always taking that leap forward to help push the industry forward.
Okay, and who knew such a great computer manufacturer was here in New Jersey? Um,
Yeah,
you know,
it's funny. Every time, like I travel all over the world, right? I'm like, hey, people know MAINGEAR. I'm like, oh, I'm with MAINGEAR, whatever, whatever. And oh, where you based out of? Silicon Valley? I'm like, no, like we're in New Jersey. What are you talking about? We wake up before those guys. um, most people expect us to be like middle of America or the West Coast, and I love it. I mean, we're close to New York City. We have a hunger here that I think a lot of states don't have for this type of business. So like I think we are at an advantage actually by being here.
excellent, excellent. So, yeah, I mean, so you've really um, been able to develop things product wise. As you go through these stages, you hit different challenges, and one of the key things is you talked about things coming up, facing a lot of problems and challenges, and one of the key things is when you're an employer or supervisor, it's really hard to be able to manage effectively, and a lot of people don't really fully understand what management is about and managing, um, because it's really more about problem solving and really looking at ways to analyze what's happening and continually make improvements on it. And in most people's career, they may go from one level to another through all their years, and you've had to go through all 5 levels, which takes a lot of learning, a lot of development, and not a lot of people can do it. So when you had making that shift, one part is delegation, but also managing people. How did you learn how to do that? What are some key things that were positive that you've learned as far as how to do it more effectively, and what were some of the biggest challenges managing people within your organization?
You know, uh, the biggest thing that I've learned is that not to underestimate people either. Right? Like I went through the painful beginning of trying to teach people how to think like me. But then once I started to actually manage people and actually hire people and create departments and like giving people a chance to do their do their part for your organization is important. Like it's the delegation part to me was the key that I think I became good at. Right? I'm like, don't underestimate your employees. Don't underestimate people that work. Most people will actually come through. Most people want to come through, right? You'll have a few bad seeds or, through the process. I think that's every business goes through that. But most people mean good, and most people want to shine. Most people want to be successful. Most people want to earn a better living, right? And once I actually figured that part out, and actually learning how to communicate and learning how to delegate, and we started to see success, right? We started to see that there are up and coming stars within my organization. There are people that can handle their own, and that can do marketing really well. That can do that can be the manager of certain departments really well. Um, so yeah, I would say for me was really the delegation part was once I actually figured and I let go and I created trust within my organization, it became really positive, and people started to come to their own, and really started to contribute in a really positive way for the organization.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I run into a lot of business owners. They're sort of like, oh, I don't know if I want to continue to do this. I'm miserable. My people are driving me crazy. Um, but once you figure that out, it actually becomes fun. Um, and you actually start making a lot more money easier, and it's a better situation for everyone. Um,
Yeah, look, I just saying that, like, I have friends that own businesses, including family members, and they speak like that. It's funny when we're having like dinners or hanging out, and like, oh man, my employees are driving. I was like, the problem is you. Like, I hate to say it, right? Because like it's not your people. Like it's really you. There's a fundamental attitude change that needs to take place within you first. And you need to say, maybe it's not my people. Maybe I'm the problem, and maybe I'm just not being a good manager. And maybe I should start to create structure and start to actually dedicate some time to train some of my people. And that's what it really is. Really taking the time sometimes to just not sometimes, because I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're gonna be busy. You're always gonna be busy. It's like going to the gym, right? Like I always say, I don't have time to go to the gym. It's bullshit. Like you can always make time to go to the gym, right? Same thing. I don't have time to talk to my employees. That's bull, right? You can always make time for employees to train them or have a conversation, or actually, create a process. But it's really hard, and I'll tell you, I'm from experience. It's really hard to stop what you're doing to think that this really important document or whatever the heck you're doing you can take a break from that to go and teach someone or train someone on a topic or matter. It'll pay dividends. It'll scale. I guarantee you. I guarantee it'll scale. So when somebody says, "I don't know, people are driving me crazy," it's because of you. That's the truth.
and I couldn't have said that better. Actually, I think the 5th chapter in my first book, Running Your Small Business Like a Pro, is it me or are my employees crazy? But as the owner, you write the rules. You can call all the shots. You have to create the environment that works for you and your employees, and your employees can't do that. Only you can. So
Yeah.
taking ownership of that is an important part, but it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not. And it's not for everyone. It's not. You go through TikTok nowadays, and it's like every other video is like, quit your job and start your business. Look, it's not. It's not for everyone. Like that's the truth. And I'm not discouraging anyone from starting their own business, but the journey is not an easy one. And management, like if you don't, it's not easy. Like I'm not. I never enjoyed becoming a manager. Like when I established my business, I never thought I'm gonna be a CEO or I'm gonna be a manager or I'm gonna be an exec. I never thought about that stuff, right? I just wanted to build what I love, which is computers, and ship them to people. That was that's that's it, right? And then there's everything that comes along, right? And that's what you got to figure out. So you know, just understand that, right? When you think about starting a business, it's there are parts that are going to be extremely fun. You're going to have the best time of your life, And there are parts of it where they're going to be very difficult for you. They're going to challenge you, and you're going to feel like, you mentioned the word miserable before. You know how many times I felt not miserable, but like without grounds. I felt like there's like, I didn't feel like there's stability in my life because I'm running a business. And I think that every entrepreneur that's scrappy, that starts from nothing, has felt that. Like, you're gonna, you know, but then, man, when you hit, when you get a success, when you hit a success level, or you hit you win at any level, it feels so good too, right? So at the same time that you're like down there, you're also up there, right? And it's like that. That's up and down. So, um, but yeah, it's like I said, it's all good. Not looking back at it, it's fun. Like, it's great.
Right. And most any company, even business owners with successful companies, there's times when they have to put more of their money back into the company.
Oh,
There's times when it's risky. Even Elon Musk, he was like on the verge of bankruptcy, like within days
mhm.
before his business really took off. So you have to be able to deal with that level of stress, but you also, with the greater stress, and you have much higher highs, lower lows and higher highs. Um, so
Doing that's actually a big test for an entrepreneur, right? So, like, when you have to put your own money back into the business, that really filters out the goods from the greats and the failures. It's almost instant, right? Because, like, you really believe in what you're doing, you're gonna do it. You're not gonna think twice. Boom. Like, I'm gonna get my savings, I'm gonna transfer to my business account, and I'm gonna do what I gotta do because it's gonna work. You might fail. I'm not saying you won't, but that will filter you out right away. If you're like, I don't know, I don't want to lose my savings, your idea might be shit. Like, or your business might be shit. That's the truth, right? Because you're like, if you're in control of the ship, and you're like, I don't know if I would put my own money, and you're in control of the ship, you got bigger problems. Like,
but
and then there's the guys that say, I won't put skin in the game, period. I'm just gonna, raise capital, and I'm gonna risk other people's monies, and that's a different level of entrepreneur. That's, you know you're built differently. But, like, when you're scrappy and you're, like, I've saved up for 10 years, I'm gonna put my money into my business account, and I'm gonna risk it all. It's a scary thought. But if you're, I have a friend that started a business recently, and he's going through that now, and I'm like, dude, you either believe it or you're not, or you don't. If you don't believe it, just get out while you can. If you believe in it, go for it. Double down, quadruple down. Do it. It'll work. I am positive it'll work. You'll make it work. So,
no,
but yeah, that's my thought there.
okay, no, I mean, definitely, um, that's key. So one of the challenges we talked about, once you have your business and things are going well, um, you know it's easy for things to move faster than you're prepared for. Especially, a lot of times you usually have excess capacity early on, and then you run out of capacity as you grow, and sort of how you deal with that and how you prepare for that organizationally. I know you've probably done that a couple times because you had your business, you grew into a new space. Actually, you grew into another new space. Um, Talk a little bit about some of the growth challenges that you had and sort of what you learned from them and how you overcame.
Yeah, more specifically, we had a really crazy growth spurt through COVID, right? I just want to use that example. Like, we would have failed miserably if we didn't have a good infrastructure in place. I'll tell you that off the bat. Like, you know, we would not be able to sustain the growth if I didn't have a good ERP system. I didn't have a good back end system. And all that stuff, I happened to invest in it um, in a year where a few years before that, where we experienced negative growth, we actually shrank because I had to put my head down at one point or another and say, okay, like if we want to continue to grow this business, I can't run the business on spreadsheets, right? I need to actually have systems in place for this business to grow. So it was a painful year where we had to basically put our heads down, implement systems, create a structure, create a strategy as to how, the flow is gonna how the business flow, how the business is gonna operate. I think right after we did that, I believe we hired. I think that's when we got engaged with you through NJMEP. But like then we're like, okay, now we're ready to take that next step, right? So we have the processes of the operational processes in place. And now what else do we need to do? Right now it's training. I mean, there's all, I'll let you speak to that, but there's so much that has to happen now for us to actually scale it, right? And for us specifically, we were very fortunate to have this stuff in place when COVID hit, right? So like COVID hit, we get crazy demand, and we just happen to have the infrastructure in place to meet that demand. And we're able to, the only real challenge for us during COVID was supply, like everyone else. But even with that, we did well. Like we had good relationships in place because of our brand, because of how we just operate our business. And we're able to sustain it. We're able to grow it. And we ended up acquiring, a facility that's three times the size of our previous facility. We're able to move during that process without actually creating problems for our customers, right? Which was the most important part of this equation. How do we transition? How do we grow? How do we do all this stuff without hurting the most important person in the room, which is our customer? And I believe we did that, really well. With your help, with NJMP, with the processes that we created, all the stuff that we implemented. It was definitely it paid off.
No, definitely. I mean, you experienced significant growth and done it successfully. Um, and one of the biggest things that you've been able to do that catches a lot of people on the growth side is, fortunately you're B2C, so you're selling to customers rather than businesses. And scale on that side, at least people are paying you for their product before they get it, so they can help finance your business. But if you're B2B, usually you're sending invoices. So the faster you grow, the less cash you have. So that's really where a lot of businesses get stuck when they have a chance to grow. So, you know, that's only one piece of it, but it can be very easy to go out of business when you grow too fast.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I like to say we're a cash business. We're not, we don't deal with cash, right? It's all transacted online. But, we're not dealing with net terms, right? We're not dealing with people that are squeezing us after 90 days of not paying us and wanting a discount, right? We're not having to finance our inventory through a bank, especially now with high interest rates. Um, so for us, we just happen to be in a really good spot, right, for growth. Um, it's we do have some B2B that we deal with. Like we do sell to certain businesses that need net terms to pay us, and it's okay, but that's a small portion of our business. Um, Selling online, I'm able to it's I don't have a capital problem that will affect my growth essentially.
hmm Definitely, definitely. So, um, one of the challenges is, you have a fairly seasonal business as well. Um, this time of year is huge for you. You probably have your biggest week of the year this week and next. Um, so how do you deal with the seasonality in terms of your employees and workloads and managing through that?
Um, it's a challenge for sure, right? Like I'm dealing. First of all, my inventory ages quickly, right? I'm dealing with technology, So like if I buy something for $100, it might be worth $50 like in 2 months, right? Um, so it's not as bad as a supermarket, but I'm dealing with a rapidly aging inventory. So I need to make sure that, you know, our forecasting is as close as possible. We look at the data, we look at the previous year, we look at the data and the trends this year, right? There's a lot of data that we actually have to go through, which is another thing too. Like as an entrepreneur, I never really liked looking at the data. I always went with my emotion, right? Like so, I learned to really understand that, and my team really understands that really well today. You know, um, which you helped us implement our KPIs and OKR meetings, very crucially important for our business, right? So that way we can better prepare ourselves. Um, and then there's just the efficiency of the actual labor, the people building the PCs. We can't overhire because we don't want to just bring in temporary, employees and let them go after the holiday. So we try to maintain the same team throughout the whole year, right? We'll hire, a few key hires here or there, helpers here or there, but you know, um, I'm very sensitive to the quality of our products. So I try not to, you know, I try to scale that internally with the current team that's in place as best as possible. So they might have a bit of a lighter load the previous months, then they'll have to, produce more during the busy months, right? And people like to produce more when there's efficiency, when there's processes in place. People actually appreciate that they can just get more done in a much more efficient manner. It's more gratifying, it's more satisfying. So there's a whole method to the science here that we go through, and we've done it for 20 years now. So like we we're tend to be pretty good at it. But every year there's a challenge. Every year there's a surprise. Every year there's like, hey, like right now there's like a challenge with there's like this law that got passed with the 4090 GPUs in China. So there's short supply of that, right? I'm like, because there's short supply of that specific high-end GPU, it creates more demand naturally. People tend to like, oh, I can't buy it, I want it, right? So I have to navigate through that. And but we, like I said, it's important to have relationships. It's important to have your processes. It's important to have the infrastructures in place. If all that stuff is in place, it's just less stuff for you to worry about when you actually have real challenges in front of you.
Okay, definitely, definitely. Um, so, one of the things that I've been working on this year, and many times, a lot of times business owners don't really think this is their responsibility or don't really think about it, but creating the culture that you want within the organization. And it's not something that you can directly create, but you can do things to influence it in a positive way to move it towards where you want it to be. And you've been doing things like that. You already had some great things in your culture, and then this year you've had even more of a focus on that. Talk a little bit about what you've done, what you're doing, and how that's impacting your business.
Yeah, when you say create culture, like the first thing that comes to mind is when you start to say, Wallace, you need to have your town hall meetings. You need to communicate better with everyone. Understand that, not everyone understands what's happening in your organization. And these are assumptions we make, right? We think that, yeah, employees will tell each other what's happening, and that's not true, right? So the most important part of of culture, besides the stuff that anybody could do, right, which is buy your people snacks, buy them pizza once a month, do the basic stuff that, if you can afford to do, that you should be doing, which that I was always good at. Just be very clear, I was always very good at creating a good work environment here, right? But culture is not just a good work environment. Culture is a team that's aligned, and the alignment comes with good, clear communication, right? So I used to think it was cheesy. Like, I'm not gonna have a town hall just to talk about what's happening, just follow me on Twitter. You'll see what's happening. The truth is that, you know, people people don't understand everything that's happening, right? So like getting everyone together, doing a town hall, presenting to your team, it does so much for your business. It creates engagement, it creates morale. It's there's so much goodness that comes out of that that I've been literally witnessing. Um that like I said, it really impacts the culture in a super positive way across the board. So yeah, it's just, culture is not just getting snacks and giving people bonuses, right? Culture is actually getting everyone on the same page, making sure that your high performing managers are actively communicating with the people under them, and the people under them are communicating with the people under them. So it's just it's something that comes with muscle memory. At first, I thought, I'm like, I don't, it's like it's just a waste of time. I think I should tell you, right, Andrew? I'm like, this is just what are we doing? Like, let's just go to work, right? Like nobody cares. And then I was so wrong. Like I was like, wow, like the first two town halls, I'm like, wow, people really care. People really want to be. They really didn't understand, right, certain aspects, and having that FaceTime with everyone and everyone in the room and the discussions, and it was so good. I mean, our products are being, people that I would never take input from before on products. They're actually making suggestions. They're exciting, and we're getting some really good ideas out of that. And it's all coming from the culture, right? And then, what I notice is after we implemented that, the better communication that is, um, I'm seeing people after work hang out and just talk about projects in the company, and that's awesome to see, right? The level of engagement and enthusiasm that's happening. Um, and that feels like to me, I'm like when I leave, when I'm walking out and I'm seeing people hanging out after work just to talk about projects. That's awesome. So so yeah, culture is depends how some define it, but to me, I think it's communication is key, and something that you helped me implement, and it's been working really great.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely communication's key, alignment's key. Everything you do really has to be aligned with your goals. And that's the other side of creating a culture. Um, you know, Introducing KPI, key performance indicators, measuring performance. Like you said earlier, people want to do a good job, but at most
Yeah.
companies, they don't even know if they're doing a good job because there's no objective measurement or any way for them to know for sure. Um, and you know, that's one thing that we've been working on, and you know, has made a good difference for your company. Um, how has that worked, and what were some of the biggest value that you found from setting goals, measuring progress on a company-wide basis?
You know, I think for us, it's really the clarity that we get, or the vision, right? Is and the clarity that we get out of it, right? So like, you know, having the KPIs and setting the OKRs, like we were able to actually identify potential future problems that we might incur, and we're able to actually be ahead of the problem, right? Because I'm actively communicating with my managers. So like that has been golden, right? Like we identified, like, and in our case, we've even launched, programs because of issues that we've identified that were up and coming within the organization. So it has been, honestly, like almost like a godsend, right? Like it's like, why we didn't do this before? Like it's just, it's been key. And then and then from also the amount of good decisions that come out of meetings, right? Because I'm communicating more and more with my leadership team. These guys are able to make better decisions because there's clear communication. Bottom line, right? And they're also more comfortable making these decisions, right? Because they're like, hey, it's simple. We've discussed this. This is what we're going to implement to fix that, and that's how it works. So for us, it's like I said, there's really honestly there's zero cons and it's all pros, right? Um, with the processes that we've implemented.
And you know, definitely, it does that for the team, helps you identify problems and challenges, um, but also develops your leadership team. You lost a couple people this year, but you had people step up because they already sort of knew what was going on.
Yeah, yeah. Look, every organization, people are going to graduate, right? People are going to basically, they're gonna some are gonna have some lifers, right? But people, they're executives. People are gonna move on. People are gonna, get better job offers or make better decisions for their families, or there's all sorts of issues and reasons and so like that's gonna happen. So like the fact that we have an organization today that can operate without key executives or that those people can be replaced, it's huge. Like 10 years ago, if I lost a key guy, a key executive in my company, I would have been losing sleep. Like I'm like, what am I gonna do tomorrow? Like I don't know. Today we're able to, first of all, there's clear communication, so we're able to understand that that's going to happen, and then we're able to actually, have internally have people step up and actually take over the roles. So it's important, right? To like for if you want the organization to be sustainable. It's like that, what is they call it? The bus effect, right? If you get hit by a bus, if one of your executives gets hit by a bus, will your organization survive? I think that's the key. That's the big question, right? That most people should ask themselves. If I get hit by the bus, will this organization survive? And if you can comfortably say yes, then you're doing a good job with your team. Bottom line. Like, it's fine. If I get hit by the bus tomorrow, I can stay out of the business. It'll continue to operate. And if you're in that spot, then that means you're in a good spot. It means you're doing a good job.
Definitely, definitely. And one of the greatest benefits, and I'm sure you probably remember this, is as a business owner, many times you think that you're the only one pushing for results, and you're trying to get everybody to do results. Um, but now you're sort of seeing your team take ownership of results,
Oh yeah,
and really not have to. You don't have to push them; they actually push each other. Um,
that's amazing. It's amazing to see, you know, your leadership team take control. It's amazing to just sit in a meeting and observe, and you're like, you know what, just stay quiet the whole time and just ask why, right? Like you taught me that, right? Like, just ask why. That's our job, right? As a CEO, just ask why. And it's amazing to see people just step up, take control, take ownership. Um, it's it's uh it's actually incredible. I love that part.
Definitely, definitely. So, um, we've covered a lot of stuff. I mean, you've been doing some great things. We could probably talk about this for hours and hours, but we don't have hours, and definitely people tuning in don't have hours, especially near the holidays. But you know, definitely going through the different stages is key for any business owner, and um, you know, you've been able to do each of these in its own way, but there's so many things to learn. It's important to get help. Nobody knows all this stuff themselves. Um, so, now that you're where you are, I know you have a lot going on this coming week, and you know, you have more things. We're planning for next year. What is it that excites you the most about your business?
What is it that excites me the most about my business? Um, I mean, the fact that I'm still doing what I love is is honestly what excites me the most. Right, the fact that I can still sit here and innovate with my team, and essentially create a better gaming experience for my customers is truly, you know, it sounds cliche, but it's what excites me. You know, getting, you know, conceptualizing your product, building that product, delivering that product to our customer, to the people that are trusting us, and receiving a great review. And you know, someone, you know, we've had customers like pay for pizzas. Like we one time we received like 20 boxes of pizzas here because the guy was so happy that his computer was like the dream that he envisioned, and he received it, and he's like, I can't believe you guys delivered. So like that's what excites me, man. Like that's what gets me going. Like I love that stuff. Like, right. So like you know, lately it's been just really smooth sailing. Like it's just I'm really enjoying, you know, even the parts that I never enjoyed before because we created processes, right? So like it's just in general coming and walking in the door and dealing with a good team and you know seeing the enthusiasm and you know in my employees and looking at the final product, right? I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is almost like a dream come true, right? Like this is I can't believe this is actually this is what I envisioned um 20 years ago. It only took me a long time to get here, but um seeing it happen in real time and on a daily basis is what gets me going.
Excellent. So, so no, I mean, you're doing a great job. You know, glad that I could be part of your journey and excited about, where you're going and um, where we're able to take it. Definitely thanks for joining me tonight. Um, you're talking to entrepreneurs and business owners who are along their journey, most not as far as you. Um, any parting words you'd like to leave them with?
No, you know, the only thing that I would say is like there's two things, right? Like, you know, when you're an entrepreneur, right, when you're going through a tough time, like open up like Google Earth and start at your location, right? With the little dot where you are. And just start to zoom out and realize that you're not the only person on this earth that's going through issues right now, right? So that will help you and that will give you some confidence. Like my problems are not as bad as I think they are. There's always a solution to my problem. So just that's one piece of advice. And the other piece of advice is just really um double down on what works. Triple down, quadruple down. If there's you know, there's so many times like we have something that's working in place in our business. This is working. Why aren't we doubling down on that? Why are we starting another project? Why are we doing something else? Right? Like you know, quadruple down on what's working because that will make you more successful. Then you can afford to do the other project. So like those are two bits of advice that I would give to an entrepreneur.
Okay. No, very, very, very timely. And that's knowledge you've gained over many years. So definitely, people should take that to heart. So I did include your info in the chat. So anyone who wants to connect with Wallace on LinkedIn, you've got his info. It is the holidays. You might need a new computer. So you've got his website as well. I've got a MAINGEAR desktop and laptop, and they're running great. So definitely recommend. And thanks again. Hang on for a minute, Wallace. Let me just close things out, and definitely appreciate having you here. So once again, um, had another great episode, another great guest. A lot of knowledge was shared. So even though it's an opportunity for you to learn things, I always learn things too, talking to people. So next week, excited. We're gonna have a little bit of a different topic. Our guest is gonna be Vanessa Zami, and she's gonna be talking about defibrillating your life to reinvigorate your business. So it's important for not only you to have a great business, but you really need to have a great life to be able to breathe life into your business. So, taking care of yourself and making sure that that you have what you need so that you can give what you need to the business. So, looking forward to that. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Hope you stay safe, and look forward to catching you next week. And just always remember, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster your business will grow.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.